Dragi prieteni, știu că sunteți aici aproape și știu că ați așteptat cu nerăbdare întâlnirea noastră din această după-amiază. Vă spun bună ziua și pentru că știți cu toții că este o zi specială, am plăcerea și privilegiul să o am aici împreună cu noi pe doamna Roni Rosenthal, doctor și profesor la Facultatea de Studii Iudaice din Maryland, Statele Unite. Ea a scris o carte care deja a acumulat o serie de premii și de curând acum, cu ocazia Zilei Internaționale a Holocaustului, premiul de cea mai bună carte dedicată cumva și Holocaustului. Now, allow me to turn to you. And to many thanks for coming here with us with so short notice. I have to keep the camera switch off. I will try to open, but I think the internet is giving me some problems. And now it's okay. Let's hope. If not, I will switch off again. I would like to enter directly into our short discussion because I know how precious is your time. I would like, first of all, to give us a few words about your book, about When the Lilacs Bloom Again.
Thank you. So first of all, thank you so much for having me today. Let me tell you a little bit about the book and the background story, how I actually worked on the project or wrote the book. So my father passed away in December 2009. And when after the funeral, I went home for the funeral. And after the funeral, I went into my father's home office. And on his desk, I found an old family album from our family from Romania. And this a family tree that my father wrote handwriting by himself. And a note, a small sticky note that said, please write their stories, tell the world what really happened to them.
May I translate very quickly,
sure.
keeping the inner of your words. Toată povestea acestei cărți a început în 2009, când tatăl ei a plecat din lumea asta și în biroul de acasă al tatălui a găsit niște notițe, un arbre genealogic și câteva poze de familie și acolo scria că trebuie povestită povestea familiei lor, care are rădăcini în România. So, thanks. Please continue.
So, I came back here. I live in the States, in Maryland, and I came back here and I brought everything with me. And a couple of months before my father passed away in summer of 2009, and my father came to visit, my parents came to visit me here in Maryland. And it was a beautiful June morning. And my father and I went to a coffee house next to the house. And we just talked about life in America and life in Israel, a random conversation. And then all of a sudden, out of a gut feeling, I told my dad, Daddy, can you please tell me the Friedis story again? And I was working as a newspaper reporter back then, and I pulled a small tape recorder out of my bag, and I clicked on record, and I recorded the conversation. And my father talked about the stories. I didn't know it's going to be the last time I will ever hear my father talk about those stories. So when I came back to the States, I had those stories with me. Of course, I grew up on those stories, so it wasn't the first time I heard it. But for the next couple of days, I came here to the States and I heard the stories over and over again. I listened to my dad's recording, and I had the family album and I had the family tree, which was missing many of the details. And I knew the note that my father wrote, and I knew I had to do a lot of research to really understand those stories.
Understand. Allow me to translate. Cu câteva luni înainte ca tatăl să plece din lumea noastră, într-un iunie, când a fost să o viziteze la Maryland, au mers să bea o cafea împreună și atunci a rugat pe tată să-i povestească povestea de familie, a înregistrat-o și după ce el n-a mai fost și s-a întors înapoi în Maryland cu toate pozele și amintirile de familie, era o muncă grea care urma să aibă loc, să reconstituie, să caute rădăcinile și a ascultat de mai multe ori această poveste pe care tatăl i-a povestit-o atunci. Ea nu știa atunci că era ultima lor ieșire împreună. Yes.
So I started researching and I sat down in the library for hours. I just wanted to really understand the Romanian background that my family came from. I read newspapers, archives, and I read memoirs, other books that other people who lived in Romania wrote. And I read everything, every article, every research, everything I could find about Romania, the history, the geography, the economy, the cultural aspect. I really wanted to understand why Fredi, who was my grandmother's cousin, actually acted or received or made decisions. Where did she came from? How did all the events in Romania actually impacted her, how it influenced her? I wanted to make sure I understand the story and give it a context. So I can...
Este vorba de munca care a început să o ducă după aceea, când n-a mai fost tatăl, și a căutat în arhive, ziare, reviste, să vadă geografia, așezarea, totul despre România, economie, absolut toate informațiile pe care le putea găsi, pentru că a vrut să vadă care este baza de la care s-a plecat și de ce s-a luat în familie decizia.
And also, another thing I had to do back then is to do a genealogy research, a family research, to get the information about my family. The family tree that my father left didn't have last names, didn't have birth or marriage or death certificates or dates. And I really wanted to find out when they were born, where they lived, any more information I could find. One of the major things I did, I reached out to the archive in Bucharest, and I also posted on Facebook groups. And many kind people helped me dig into the archives and find the documents. And I was able to retrieve my grandmother's and her brother's birth certificates, all the way from 1904, 1902, when my grandmother was born.
Deci este foarte frumos și interesant și este istoria mai multora care și-au căutat rădăcinile din România. A făcut o cercetare a genealogiei, nu avea numele de familie, nici datele de naștere, avea numai prenumele, a fost destul de dificil, a încercat și prin Facebook și grupuri, a găsit oameni minunați, în așa fel încât a reușit să găsească certificatul de naștere al bunicii din 1902 sau 4, cred că 1902, da, în 1902. You know, it's a kind of similar research I made for my father, and this is impressing me very much. Yes. Even I'm here, it was not easy. Deci, despre asta e vorba, despre cercetările pe care le-a făcut ca să găsească legăturile, frații, bunicii și toată familia. Ok.
So I reached out to Facebook, and a lot of people, many nice people really helped and helped me find those documents. And then I started writing the story after I had the information. I would say that the research never ends. I still try to find more information, anything that I can locate.
From where? Tell me around which region, city did you find this? This is also very interesting to know. Da, niciodată nu se termină o asemenea cercetare genealogică, că mereu găsești alte ramificații, rude și conexiuni.
So my family originally, and that's from my father's side, originally from Piatra Neamț.
From Piatra Neamț.
So I reached out to Piatra Neamț, and apparently the archive they had was burned down in 1950s. So many of the documents were lost in the big fire.
I know. It was a big fire then, and the sister of my grandmother lost her birth certificate and all the papers, yes. Deci a fost destul de greu de găsit, e vorba de Piatra Neamț, a fost după ce au ars toate documentele acolo, a fost o asemenea perioadă și sora bunicii mele și-a pierdut atunci actele și a fost greu de reconstituit. Da.
And the other part of the family, so my great-grandmother Rosa had 5 siblings. They were 1 brother and 4 sisters. And we were able to locate one of the graves of the husband of one of the sisters, so one of her brother-in-laws. We were able to locate in Piatra Neamț. We also have family from Bucharest, of course, and we had family in Iași.
Iași. Deci și în București, și în Iași, și în Piatra Neamț, 4 surori și un frate, și a reușit să găsească o parte din conexiunile de familie.
And we also had some documents at home in Israel, at my parents' house. My great-grandmother brother, David, actually died. Him and his wife and 4 daughters died in the Iași massacre, pogrom. So we were able to find his last letter and 2 pictures that we had.
Da, în pogromul de la Iași a murit acest frate și a putut să găsească o parte din actele de atunci. You know, this January we have both. We have the pogrom but it's the Bucharest pogrom now, because in Iași it was in end June 29. Yes. Deci ideea este că a găsit acte de la pogromul care a avut loc în sfârșitul lunii iunie la Iași. Noi acum anul ăsta, în fiecare an avem aici la București 21-22 ianuarie pogromul de la București. Da, din 41. Da. Okay.
And my great-grandfather from the other side, from my mother's side, was injured in the Bucharest pogrom. So.
Understand. Din partea mamei, celălalt străbunic a fost omorât în pogromul de la București. Deci e o familie care a avut de suferit în timpul Holocaustului și pogroamelor care au fost înainte. Da. Ok. Tell me, do you want to continue with something now? About when did you conclude the book? I mean, from personal point of view, because I have to do this. Yes.
So it took me about 12 years to write the book and to do the research.
I love you. Deci am întrebat-o cât i-a luat să facă această carte și mi-a spus că aproape 12 ani, pentru că i-a luat ceva timp. Nu e un lucru ușor să scrii o carte după unul din părinți, după tată. Și eu acum am spus că, într-un fel, este un model și pentru mine, că nici eu nu reușesc să o termin. Da.
And I would say we were able to answer some questions that we had in the family, but there are still questions that
I
can't find the answers to. I mean,
it's also about mentality, about the way of thinking at that time. So it's so difficult. Deci a găsit o parte din răspunsurile pe care le căuta, dar n-a putut găsi toate răspunsurile și eu am spus că e vorba și de mentalitățile care erau atunci, modul de a gândi, care sigur că s-a schimbat între timp și ne e greu să descifrăm cum gândeau străbunii noștri. Ok. Tell me, do you know a few words in Romanian? I'm sure yes. Do you speak Romanian a little bit?
So just a couple of words, like I know foarte frumos and vino la masă, vino la sebe.
This is basic, vino la masă. This is something very important. In a Jewish family, for the big holiday, we have to be all together to the table, around the table. Da, știe câteva cuvinte, așa cum ați auzit. Unul dintre ele este să vină la masă și celălalt Este, uite că nu mai știu, dar cred că s-a auzit acum, eu mă gândeam la următoarea întrebare. In my mind, it was the next question. You know, how do you feel each year in this particular day, 27th of January?
So the Holocaust International Day, as a Jewish professor myself, I always participated in big Jewish ceremonies here on campus, in the synagogue, of course. I represented the department and so on. I think it became more personal to me when I found out about David and his family. This story, my father never told us. He didn't want to get into the. I mean, I knew there was an uncle in the family, but I didn't know the details. I never saw his picture. You know, once I saw the picture, it became more personal. And now, since the last 5-6 years that I found out about who David was, who Sophie, his wife was, David was a school teacher. He dreamt about being a school teacher, and he loved education and teaching children. His wife, Sophie, was a music teacher who worked with kids with special needs. She really wanted to help. Once you have personal narratives or personal story behind the face,
yes,
it gives it completely different perspective now.
Yes, eu am întrebat ce simte în fiecare zi în fiecare an pe 27 ianuarie cu ocazia acestei zile internaționale a Holocaustului și mi-a spus că a devenit din ce în ce mai personal după ce a văzut că la început nu i s-a povestit povestea unchiului de David, care era profesor de școală, soția lui era profesoară de copii cu nevoi, pentru copii cu nevoi speciale, dar după ce le-a văzut pozele, a reconstituit viețile în ultimii 5-6 ani, a devenit ceva foarte personal, care sigur atinge touch our soul, touch the soul. This is something absolutely special. Yes. It is really, you know, complex. I saw you already got 6 awards, and I'm very curious, yes, to read the book. Really, for me, it's something important even for myself to find the common bridges. What is common? I used to think at this, what is common? And I had interviews with ladies, mainly with ladies, but not only, from other countries. Also, daughters of the survivors, having the same perspective on this. And this is very important. So tell me something about you, and when do you plan to come in Romania? Because we really want to see you again here. Oh, did you?
So I'll just mention that I received many, I post on Facebook about the story, and I received a lot of feedbacks. And I think many people who read the book texted, emailed me, or commented on Facebook and said, the story sounds familiar. I have family from Iași, I have family in Bucharest. You know, you're writing like you're writing my story, my own family story. Someone told me I felt like on a roller coaster, emotional roller coaster when I read your story, because it's my family. You're talking about things that,
yes.
you know, we all shared, we all grew up on. I think the most interesting comments were people in Romania that said, we didn't know about it. We never thought there was a Holocaust in Romania. And people from Romania, I mean, you know, it's, I guess they told me they never learned about it in school, they never heard about it. So it's really important that at least I bring something to the attention, you know, so people...
Yes, definitely, yes. First of all, I will translate and then I will answer to this. Ideea este că din ce a vorbit cu cei cu care a vorbit, nu știau nimic despre Holocaust, despre ce s-a întâmplat, unii dintre ei, în Iași sau în București, dar evreii care se identificau, care avuseseră în familie asemenea situații, s-au identificat cu povestea de parcă ar fi fost chiar a lor. Întrebarea mea va fi dacă există și formatul electronic și că există acum o preocupare din partea din ce în ce mai multor oameni pentru a se ocupa de educație în domeniul istoriei. Now, first, if it is, I told what I plan to ask you, just in case. Do you have an electronic format of your book?
Yes. So the book is on both paperback and in Kindle.
Okay, this would be great if you could send me, and then I will send to the ladies, and even for myself. I really want to read this book. And the other was a kind of some additional details, because now currently in the last years, of course, it is an increase in anti-Semitism, which is very it's happening everywhere in the world because of the general condition. But here we have education in the field of Holocaust, and I have very good friends, history professors, teachers, and I also had some talks with people and with young scholars, and so it is a beginning of knowing about this, because if the people will not learn about this, the mistakes could be repeated, and we see this everywhere and anytime.
Yes.
So this is very important. E foarte important să ținem memoria trează, keep memory alive. It's what I told in Romanian. We need to keep the memory alive. I don't want. I'm sure you have your school or your classes or something to run. Now it's very early in the morning. I'm really grateful for your time, first of all, because I know how important it's for everybody the time. So I'm many thanks, and I really hope to see you here, and I hope to have some other discussions, even around the round table or something. This would be very interesting.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you very much, Roni, and let's plan another occasion. Dragi prieteni, asta a fost interviul cu Roni Rosenthal din Maryland, Statele Unite, și sper să o vedem curând aici sau să avem o masă rotundă sau vom găsi o ocazie. Many thanks and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.
Ne vedem la 5.